This reading is from the book called The Basics God, You, Jesus, Faith, Mike Novotny, copyrighted in 2021. This is the section, There's Something About Jesus. Napoleon Bonaparte once admitted that there was something about Jesus. It wasn't Jesus' fame that set him apart, although he was, historically, incredibly famous. Nor was it Jesus' teaching about turning the other cheek or treating others as you would like to be treated, although those quotes have been quoted for the past 2,000 years. What was it that made Jesus so magnetic? Napoleon said, Alexander, Caesar, Charlemagne, and myself founded empires, but upon what foundation did we rest the creations of our genius? Upon force. But Jesus Christ founded his upon love, and at this hour millions of men would die for him. Love in a world where all of us, from the quiet teenage girl to the seemingly confident CEO, ache to be loved. Jesus stands out. Recently, a young woman started coming to the church where I am pastor. After her first visit, she texted me, "Thought I'd try church 'cause I'm an atheist. Starting to like it." After her second visit, she texted again, admitting that she had been struggling with impulsive behaviors and going back to some self-destructive habits. I immediately replied with a message about Jesus' love and willingness to forgive, telling her that our church was filled with people who had battled, were still battling addictions. Her response, "Now that I keep going to church, I believe there is a God and Jesus will forgive me of my sins." Hard to wrap my head around sometimes. My response to her response? I can't tell you how much I love this text. It's still hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that Jesus forgives me for my sins. I don't deserve it. But he still did it. Her response to my response, to her response? I almost cried last service because you talked about how he unconditionally loves us enough to have been there for us. My response to her response to my response to her response, boom. I love moments like that. The times when I see the love of Jesus through fresh eyes as people hear about him for the very first time and are drawn to hear more. That's what kept her coming back. And that's what keeps me reading the Bible, going back to church, and talking to Jesus in my prayers. How about you? I'm not sure how this book ended up in your hands. Maybe you were just watching TV or scrolling through social media when something got your attention, causing you to slow your scroll long enough to truly listen. Or maybe you just got done with church and there was something unique about the message, something that surprised you about God or moved you about Jesus, and you picked up this book as a next step. Or maybe your life is a mess right now, and you're sitting in jail or staring at the wine bottle you polished off personally last night, and you know you need a new chapter in your life before it is too late. Or maybe you've realized, like billions of people before you, that there is something missing in your life. You've binged the latest shows, bought the latest stuff, upgraded your life in a dozen ways, but it hasn't been enough to satisfy your soul and give your life a true direction and purpose. Whatever got these words in front of your eyes, I am grateful you are here, and I imagine you have questions. I know my neighbor does. There is a guy who lives right next door to our church, close enough that I could kick a soccer ball from my parking spot and hit his bedroom window. He and I just seem to click, so I love talking to him about life, work, and family. In recent months, he has even accepted my invitation to check out our church and listen to our messages about God, Jesus, and faith. Recently, however, he admitted to me, "I feel like I'm starting in the middle of the movie." Maybe you have felt that way too. You can be a very intelligent person and yet be very overwhelmed by all the information in an average church service or on any given page of the Bible. While you've likely heard the names Peter, Mary, and Jesus, you might not be so sure about Isaac, Isaiah, and the 17 other Marys who show up in the story. Add to that the church lingo like grace, faith, saved, holy, glory, worship, your walk with God, and all the other insider language that Christians use, and you can feel pretty out of place. Or maybe, while the pastor talks about the Bible's plan for dating or parenting, you have more basic questions. What is God like? What does God think of when he thinks of me? What exactly was Jesus all about? How do I get saved? And what precisely does get saved mean? What should I do next? If you feel sheepish asking such basic questions, please don't be embarrassed. Plenty of other people in history did the exact same thing. When Jesus' friend Peter spoke to a massive crowd about the Christian faith, they responded, "What shall we do?" Acts chapter 2, verse 37. And when a military man realized that he had some serious spiritual issues, he asked a Christian named Paul, "What must I do to be saved?" Acts chapter 16, verse 30. Questions like that are why I wanted to write this book. One of the best things about the Christian faith is its ocean-like depth. After 40 years of following Jesus, I still discover new things in the depths of the Bible. Yet just like the ocean, there are basic truths that even first-time listeners can enjoy, like a child who giggles as she builds sandcastles at the edge of the water. This book won't answer every question you have about God, Jesus, or faith, but I hope it helps you dip your toes in the water and experience the refreshing love that has captivated the hearts of billions of people. So let's spend some time learning who God is, who you are, what Jesus did, and what faith has to do with it. God, you, Jesus, faith. Ready to discover the truths that have changed the world?